if you want to check that number 6, I didn't do it in the last video, but if you've worked it out now and you want to check to see if you got it correct, there's my worked out. I said it was isosceles because two sides came out equal. Alright, let's look at these special segments that are created in triangles. The first one's called a perpendicular bisector. This is a word we covered in Unit 1, but it's been a while. It's a line, segment, or ray that passes through the midpoint of a side and is perpendicular to the side, but not the other. So you'll see that right here, this is shown as the midpoint because it's got the little marks on each side to show that that's the middle, and it's perpendicular, so they put the box there at the side. So at the midpoint, you have the 90-degree corner formed. Okay, the next one's called an altitude. We also refer to altitude as a height of something, like height of a triangle, a height of a shape. It's a segment drawn from a vertex perpendicular to the line containing the opposite side. So perpendicular. So here's 3 different examples of how it could be. It has to go from a vertex, so that is a point, and it's perpendicular with the opposite side. So again, this 90-degree corner has to be at the side, not at the vertex. Here's an example of a right triangle. In a right triangle, that altitude or that height is located like on the side where the 90-degree corner goes from this vertex to the opposite side. There are some triangles, like an obtuse triangle, that maybe sometimes you have to extend the line to see that the height of that triangle is actually on the outside. So those are 3 examples of what an altitude could look like. A median is a segment drawn from a vertex. So it comes from vertex again of a triangle to the midpoint of the side opposite. So you'll notice this is the midpoint, it's opposite, this is called the vertex. This is going to be your midpoint. To show that that's the midpoint or the middle of that segment, they put these little congruent signs on each side. Alright, and the last one here is called an angle bisector. We talked about this in Unit 1 also. When you bisect something, remember it cuts it in half. So we're cutting an angle in half. It's a ray that divides an angle into 2 congruent angles, or 2 equal angles. So it bisects, so these 2 angles are now equal. Alright, so let's look at some examples. We're going to construct the triangle segment specified, and I'm not going to have us get out a ruler or anything on this, or a protractor. The angle bisector, we want to draw a line that's going to look like it cuts this angle in half. You can choose any angle you want. I think I'm just going to take from this one here, this is a vertex, and I'm just going to do my best to draw it going across there and show that this side is equal to that side. So on the quiz or test, it'll say put any special marks that are needed. So an angle bisector, we're wanting to see that those angles are now congruent. So that's the special mark I'm needing. A perpendicular bisector, it's bisecting a side, so we need to find a midpoint of some side. So let's say I use the bottom. If I'm going to say that's the midpoint, and I'm going to show that by putting little congruent sides on each. So that's the bisector part, shows that it goes at the midpoint, and now the perpendicular, you're going to draw a line straight up to be the best you can, draw a 90-degree angle from that point going straight up. An altitude is from a vertex and then perpendicular to the side. I'm going to choose this vertex, and I'm going to draw towards this side over here. So, like I said, the best I can to make this look about 90 degrees, because we want this best we can to look like a 90-degree angle. Now again, I'm not going to have us get out a protractor to measure it, so your best estimate that would look in the right spot. Okay, median goes from, whoops, lights got dark, goes from a vertex to the midpoint. So let's say I take this long side over here, that's going to be about my midpoint. So I'm going to put those little marks to show midpoint. A median connects a vertex to the midpoint. Those 4 words might be words that you want to make flashcards for this chapter, because you'll have to be expected to be able to know what those are and what they look like in a picture, or even how to draw them in a picture. Alright, looks like that is the end of the vocab for day 1, just introducing triangles. The next thing we have on here is our day 2 bell work.